come back to you. Senator Madigan.
Thank you, Chair. The Senate Finance and Public Administration references inquiry last year into Commonwealth procurement procedures addressed the issue of the Shoalhaven paper mill. As you may be aware, the impending closure of the Shoalhaven paper mill was announced today by Australian Paper. Taking into account direct and indirect impacts of the closure, hundreds of jobs in a regional area of high unemployment will be lost. The passport contract was welcomed by Australian Paper, but more support was needed. Minister, to what extent did the government and/or the department consider the advice from the mill worker, Mr Evans, at the public hearing and Australian Paper in that media release that there was a very real risk that Shoalhaven mill will not remain in operation without a change to the way the government procures paper prior to submitting the minority report of government?
Thank you for that question. I might ask Mr Sheridan to explain the procurement process in relation to these sorts of contracts, and then we might take it from there.
Thanks, Minister. The way that the government buys paper is through the stationery and office supplies contract. There are a range of suppliers who offer paper through that contract. We've checked the amount of Australian-made paper that has been purchased through that contract in 2013 and 2014. We know that in 2013, 55% of the paper was made in Australia, totalling an expenditure of about $4.7 million. In 2014, the calendar year, 59% of the paper was purchased from Australian paper. That was $5.4 million worth of expenditure. And in January this year, the last month for which I have figures, 56% of paper was purchased. That's some $300,000 worth of Australian paper. So we are buying a majority of the paper from Australian-made paper, but obviously not all of it. Our free trade arrangements don't allow us to distinguish between the sources of those goods and services generally that would allow us to direct people only to buy Australian paper.
Mr Sheridan, I was referring directly to the security paper that is used in passports, which is manufactured at the Shoalhaven paper mill. And as you would be well aware, when we had the inquiry into procurement, when we discussed this matter, what does the department going to do now? You know, this is an issue for passports.
So Australian passports are obviously the responsibility of the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Like, we don't run paper procurement across the whole of the government. I think you'll find that procurement in relation to paper for the purposes of the production of Australian passports would be a matter best addressed with the Department of Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade. Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, but like in the committee dealing with Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade.
So it's procurement they undertake, Senator, not us?
Pardon?
They undertake the procurement, not us?
So the Department of Foreign Affairs
Correct.
and Trade. Yeah. Thank you, Chair.